Hi everyone, I'm Alex, and today we're going to be talking about schedule parameters in Microsoft Fabric's data pipeline. So with this tool, we can run the same pipeline a little bit differently throughout the day. We could parameterize our API instructions to get different data, or we can parameterize our destination so that we can land the data in different folders or different tables. For today's example, I'm going to be using a weather API, and I'm going to be bringing in forecasts for different countries and landing them in different tables. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, we want to be in our workspace and go to new item, and we want to create a data pipeline. So select pipeline there, and we'll just call this schedule test and create. Now, while that's loading, I'll show you the website that I'm using for our API. I'm using Open Meteo, not sure how you pronounce that, but using this for a free weather API. And what we can do is select our location, and it'll give us our latitude and longitude and a few variables for the API. So we want to create an API that I can parameterize. So I'm just going to select maximum temperature and minimum temperature for the day. And when we scroll down, I might have missed it. When we scroll down, we've got an API configured here for us where it'll give us the 7 days forecast. And I want to parameterize where we are. So that's going to be the latitude and longitude. So I'll copy that API. Back in our pipeline, we want to create a pipeline activity, and it's going to be copy data. We'll just call that weather API. And before we carry on, I'm going to create some parameters. So I want to create a latitude and longitude parameter. So let's grab our default values before we copy the API. And it's going to be this one. Another parameter I'm going to just call long. And finally, I want a parameter that I'm going to use in the destination that's going to be the location. Again, a string, and it's going to be UK for the default value. So back in the copy job, I want to go to the source and add a new connection. And this is an API, and it's going to be using HTTP. And let's get our connection string. So within the URL, we want just the website. So we can get rid of the rest, and we can cut that for now because we're going to be using that as our relative URL later. And you can see I've already got some connections here, but I'll create a new one and I'll just call it weather2. And we don't need any authentication, nothing else. Let's connect. Right, so the relative URL, we're going to be adding dynamic content because we want to use those parameters. So click the dynamic content, and we'll start off with @concat because we're going to be concatenating the connection with the relative URL. If we press return there, it'll give us what we need. Shift and return, and we're going to paste in the rest of the connection string. Now, what I do for dynamic content is we'll start off by isolating where we want to parameterize. So everything has the speech marks over it, and then a comma, and then we'll shift and return, and all the parameters end with a comma. So there we go. So we'll break all this down, and shift and return, comma, shift and return, and then the rest of it is just going to be in speech marks. So we'll highlight that, and that's going to be our first parameter, and highlight the second, and add our second parameter. And no more red, so it looks good. So we'll press OK there. And the file format for this is going to be JSON. So now I had this issue earlier where I had to click every option in order to grab JSON, because as you can see, for some reason it's just not letting me click it. So I'll go Excel and then I'll go JSON. Don't know what that is, but there we go. So that's all we need for the source. And now the destination is going to be a lake house that I've got all ready to go. So let's see. No, so I want the yeah, that's it. So I want my demo lake house, and I want to make this go straight to tables. So I'm going to enter manually, and we'll start off with the schema, which is not going to be dynamic. We just want it to be a weather schema. And then the table name, I want to use the location. So we're going to have a UK table, and then we're going to have a US table. I want that to overwrite, and I can save there. Now, for schedule parameters, we want to go into the schedule, and we're going to set this up to, first of all, run daily, and it's going to be, yeah, we'll just leave that as 12, and then add parameters. Actually, it's best to get the visibility of the parameters before we go into there. So we've got the parameters there. Schedule, add schedule, daily, and here we can set time zones, so you can do it for your different teams in different countries. So add parameters, and we want lat is going to be a string, and we're just copying exactly what we've put in there. And for the UK, we're going to use the defaults and add a parameter for longitude, and then string minus 0.1257. And then for our location, make sure it's exactly the same as the other, or it won't work. And this one's going to be UK. So now we want to add another schedule, and it's going to be pretty much the same, except we're going to do different times. So an hour later, we want to do America. So we've got lat string, long string, and location is going to be USA. But let's go and get the information that we need, and it's going to be yeah, this looks good. Right, so we'll copy that latitude, bring it across, and the longitude. Okay, so we've got all of the parameters that we need. Now, when I was trying this before, I was unable to run the scheduled parameters using this run button. So I'm going to try again. Instantly failing. Again, I'm not sure what that is. So what we'll have to do is, right, so we've got 1620. So I'm going to do 1621, and we'll get that started. So save that. And then for the next schedule, no, don't want to add. So I'll edit this, just shift my head, edit, and then for the next one, I'm going to do 1623 because it shouldn't take long. So we'll save that, and I will come back once they've run. Okay, so our pipelines have successfully run. So let's check the lakehouse and see what's been generated. Right, so refresh the lakehouse there. And we can see that the weather scheme has been created, and we've got two different tables, UK and USA. So within the UK, we've got our weather forecast for the 7 days, and you can see we've got our parameters have taken hold there. And then in the USA, there we go, different latitude and longitude. So we've successfully provided weather forecasts for our different teams in different locations. Just an example that I wanted to use to show you the schedule parameters. Obviously, this will be more useful for your huge data pipelines that you don't want to be creating twice, but need to ingest different data throughout the day. So I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in the next one.